Hello, party people. Welcome to the Secrets of a Witch podcast with me, Sabrina Scott, where I talk all about life, love, healing, witchcraft, magic, tarot, and everything in between. And as I'm recording this, I've got 2 cats in close proximity. So if anyone makes a meow as they headbutt my recording device, you will know what is happening. So it is another day of wacky air here in Toronto from all the wildfires, if I can even speak. And apparently some ash rain is going to be coming our way too, which is completely fucking crazy. But anyway, to distract ourselves from the insane situation that is going on outside, I wanted to basically spend the episode today giving a little bit of a rundown about my Magic Without Bullshit program and what the fuck is the curriculum. Because, I don't know, I just remember back when I released my first book, Witch Body, back a bazillion years ago now, which is kind of like my philosophical manifesto, I suppose, about how I see witchcraft and how I see our connections with non-human beings and how magic is all about relationships and collaboration and it can teach us so much and blah, blah, blah. I had so many people reach out and be like, okay, Sabrina, so I read your book and I totally agree, but how do I actually do this magic thing? And I kept getting that question from so many people. And so this course is my answer to that question. Because I really do believe that I've got something to share with y'all. And I've seen now over the years, this course, the way that I organize information, the way that I teach really get fucking results for people. So without further ado, let me just break down module by module by module what this course is, what is involved, what the fuck I teach about. So module 0. We start off with belief and cosmology. So in this module, which I've got probably 16 or 17 videos, I talk about a lot of different things. So the videos are as follows. Why start with belief? Shifting worlds, ontology, epistemology, belief versus knowledge. What do you believe? World embracing or world rejecting, orthodoxic or orthopraxic, religious or spiritual. What's your baggage? Animism and energy, theistic belief in divinity, cosmology and worldview, saints, angels, and mystical beings, ancestors, spirits and the dead, the living universe, vibrant matter. Are all spiritualities compatible with magic? And then we end off with spiritual ethics from module 0. And so I'm not going to explain what each single one of those videos is about, but you can probably tell that is a lot more in depth than pretty much any other course on witchcraft that's out there. And so instead of just saying pick a divinity, pick a god, pick a goddess, and run with it, call it a day. That's all you need to do. You just have to decide what your patron deities are, which most witchcraft teachings, this is kind of how they approach it. That is obviously not my approach. I go really, really deep into this, and there's, of course, worksheets that go along with every single module. And part of the reason for that is, you can't fucking do magic unless you know what you believe. You can't do magic unless you know why you believe it. You can't do magic. You can't call upon your spiritual collaborators. Not effectively in a deep and meaningful long-term way, unless you've got a really decent understanding of what you think this world even is consisting of. What spiritual beings are part of your worldview. Maybe you believe in angels, maybe you don't. But whether you do or you don't, that is going to really influence your practice. What types of messages you receive, from who, how you interpret your messages. Your influences, right? Spiritual influences from your background, from your family, from how you were raised, the culture that you were in. Whether you are world rejecting or world embracing. And if you don't know what that is, welcome to the course. But all of this stuff is going to really influence the way your magic happens, the shape that your magic takes. It's so, so, so important. And this, like, not attending to this is why a lot of people's magic just like is like a deflated balloon flying all over the room and landing in a plop on the ground. So after that, we move on to module 1 on energy work. And the videos are as follows. Introduction to energy work. What is energy? Why does it matter? What does energy feel like? What is intuition? And then, of course, some very important energetic techniques. Cleansing, grounding, shielding, attracting, visualizing, instigating energetic shifts, which, in case you don't know, it's like what magic is all about. Ways of sensing. Too open, too closed. So I do find a lot of newbie magic folks have either one problem or the other. They're too energetically open, they feel everything, or they're too energetically closed and they cannot feel fucking anything. So I talk a lot about that tension and how to solve it in that. Then we move along to energy signatures. 4/5 Western elements. And of course, there's lots of different ways of conceiving of elements in spirituality and magic, but I'm going to focus on the West because that is my particular context. And then, of course, energetic consent and ritual, and then energetic noticing and listening. A lot of in-depth stuff there, and this is kind of like the boring beginning stuff. Personally, actually, all my students love this shit, which I'm so thankful for. But I have seen a lot of people who want to do magic, they want to skip this shit, right? They want to skip the energy stuff. They just want to get to casting spells, doing rituals, chanting, lighting candles, etc., right? But in order for us to be actually really good at magic, the way that I teach it, the way that I see it, what I've learned from being in this for more than 20 years is that getting clear on this energy work stuff is honestly incredibly important. And it's like that stuff that we can't skip. It really is going to create space for everything else to bloom. And it creates the scaffolding for everything else to bloom. Very, very important in my mind. The energy work stuff is, it's just my favorite. It's all of magic and witchcraft is energy work. Whether you call it that or not, ultimately it is. All right, module 2, we move on to ritual. And the videos in that are Introduction to Ritual, what counts as ritual, huge topic, seeing the magic in the mundane, setting up and preparation, the energetic flow of ritual, opening, raising, directing, grounding, closing, structure and flow, high magic, low magic, magic as a crutch, when to do magic and when not to do magic, tradition versus innovation, the influence of Wicca, and then, of course, the limitations of Wicca, vetting sources, very important, and then ethics. So when we move from cosmology and belief into energy work and a ritual, you can see that the way I've structured this, everything kind of slowly builds on the thing that came before it in terms of the lessons. So we don't just start like, all right, ritual, module 1, let's go. It's like, no, we got to do some other stuff before we even begin to talk about what ritual is. Really, really important flow of thought, flow of practice. And honestly, I know everyone wants to jump into ritual and doing it, and all the other modules, in a way, are about the doing. So let's get into those. Okay, so next up, we have module 3, connection, collaboration, communion. So, of course, the videos are as follows: Introduction to Communion, ways of framing, actor network theory, assemblage, entanglement. So that one is all about a lot of the philosophy that is behind my first book, Witch Body. And it's a lot of contemporary Western philosophy that talks about connectedness between beings. So if you liked Witch Body and you like my way of thinking philosophically about the environment and magic, you are absolutely going to love this module. So anywho, next video is who do we connect with? Who do we invite in? Communing with yourself, communing with spirits and spirit beings, communing with ancestors, communing with divinity, communing with environment and place, communing with culture, communing with animals, communing with plants, common collaborators, cups, wands, knives, pentacles. So those are the typical elemental tools that a lot of witchy folks influenced by Wicca will work with. Loneliness and solitude, and then communion and consent. So you'll notice I do kind of weave in conversations about consent and ethics throughout pretty much every single module. So that's something I do intentionally because I really don't agree with the idea that we are using these objects that we are working with. I don't believe that we are using divinities. I believe that we are all collaborating together. We're all working together. And so to make sure that everyone's on the same page as much as possible, I think it is important to know how to check in and at least have that awareness about spiritual ethics and just think about what does that mean to you and how do you check for spiritual consent? Well, guess what? I teach about it in my course. So then we've got module 4, devotion and address. And the videos are as follows. Of course, the intro, prayer. So I do believe that prayer is relevant for witches. Ways of connecting. Why connect. Listening and speaking. Dialogue. And then offerings. So if you've read Witch Body, my first book, which is a graphic novel that basically lays out a lot of my spiritual witchy philosophies, one of the things that I talk about is how witchcraft and the doing of magic expands our noticing of the public sphere. So most public sphere theory, and I won't bore you guys with the whole history of all of this, it just involves humans, right? Like it is mostly, at least if I'm going to sum it up, it mostly is talking about the ways that humans talk to each other. And a lot of the original writing on this was about like public squares, public discourse, and also written public discourse like newspapers and magazines, where it became possible to kind of speak into the void and know that other people would hear you, right? So this concept of the public sphere that is really important to a lot of things, but for our purposes, for my purposes, it's really, really relevant to this thing called magic and thinking about all of the world, objects, plants, animals, the water, the clouds, etc., as our public sphere. They hear us and they speak back, right? So that's kind of what all that is all about. Next up, module 5 on timing. Of course, the intro, time and cycles, day and night, daily solar cycles, daily lunar cycles, monthly cycles, astrological cycles, seasonal cycles, personal cycles, and cultural cycles. So the idea behind this module is that timing does not have to look the same for everybody. Some people are going to really lean into the astrological hours. Some people are really going to love planning their magic by the phase of the moon. And some people are going to be like, I don't give a fuck about that. I'm going to do a shit ton of magic in the summer when I feel energized. And then in the wintertime, I'm just going to hermit, not really do too much. We all have our own rhythms, our own cycles, be they internal, like based on our own bodies and our energy levels. And if you menstruate, maybe also based on that cycle, or we also all have these external factors that might be relevant to us, right? Like the sun, the moon, like what Jupiter is doing to whatever, like all that astrology stuff that a lot of us have become a lot more aware of. It's going to affect all of us in different ways, and each of us is going to resonate with all of that in different ways, right? And so I teach in this module all about how to decide how you're going to do your magic in terms of timing. Because I know that a lot of what I hear from new folks is that it's so overwhelming to just like not know, like, oh my God, do I do it based on this type of cycle? Do I do it based on the lunar phase, those like what the sign and the planet is in, blah, 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 blah. Like people get confused. And so with this, I lay it out and I explain, how do you figure that shit out? How do you decide what your own personal rhythms are going to be magically? Next up, module 6, forms of practice. Of course, every module's got an intro. So other than that, we've got indoor versus outdoor, group versus solo, cooking and food, cleaning home and body, herbal magic, candle magic, and divination. So finally, we're getting into how to do the things. Next up, module 7, types of workings. So the intro, of course, attracting, repelling, sustaining, love magic, money magic, spiritual-based magic. Sounds like it's an oxymoron, but like, or if it's repetitive or whatever, but honestly, it's the least common type of magic that I've consulted with people about. Most people are concerned the most about love and money and not about their spiritual development, interestingly. But your spiritual development is also something you can do magic about. Surprise, surprise. And then, of course, protection and cleansing. Very, very important. Luck and healing. Next up, module 8, candle magic intensive. This is my fave because I'm a big candle magic person. I love it. All of my magic, more or less, does involve candles. So we've got the intro, and then we've got candle size, shape, dipped or solid, jar or nude. I talk about different types of wicks, the number of wicks, the materials of wicks, the scent, and then, of course, how to shop. And then module 9, synthesis. The intro, why do magic, creating ritual, trial and error, safety, bringing it all together, and then closing. So as you can tell, that's like a shit ton of things. It is a lot. And that, for me, is the baseline of what a lot of magic is. Obviously, I've been doing this whole witchcraft thing for more than 20 years. I guess I'll need to update that as I keep getting older. But I'm 33. And I've been doing this shit since before I was 10. Like, I've been in spiritualism and all of that since I was like 8. And so, obviously, we're going to get into a lot more in-depth and advanced work when I'm doing the group coaching with folks in the course. But in terms of the basics of the techniques, the philosophies, the why, and the how behind everything, and the what to do, this course covers all of that shit. It is honestly the most in-depth course on witchcraft online. It is a thing. It really, really is. And this, I get into a level of depth that most people, not to toot my own horn, but that most people do not reach in their practice. And I've seen a lot of witchy folks who have been around the block for, oh my God, like a long time, like 5 years, 10 years. And still, like, it's very clear to me that they don't really know how to work magic and how to get what it is that they need to get in their lives. Because they're miserable, their life is in shambles, and sometimes our life just is in shambles, but there's some people who it's very clear they haven't learned how to work with magic in order to actually create change in their lives. One of my slogans for my business is claim your magic, change your life. And I really believe that. And that is what I teach in everything that I do, whether it's through giving people tarot readings, whether it's through my new offering, which is feminine energy coaching, or whether it is through teaching witchcraft and magic and spirit work and how to connect with ancestors, how to do mediumship, all of that stuff. Like, what unites all of that is that I teach you how to connect with your magic and how to claim your magic so that you can completely change yourself and change your life to be what you want it to be, right? I think a lot of folks don't create the space for themselves to bloom. And a lot of that is self-imposed. Some of it is external, but whether it's internal stuff or external stuff, I do believe that working with magic, learning magic can really help us clear the path for our future success and just shake off whatever crap does not serve us. Again, whether that's internal or external. So anyway, Magic Without Bullshit is still enrolling. So you are gonna want to jump the fuck in, whether that is self-study or whether that is the group coaching option. Please jump the fuck in because it is honestly so good. You will not regret it. If you are like, oh my God, Sabrina, I'm sure you're full of shit. You don't know what you're talking about. Blah, blah, blah. This course isn't even real. You're going to scam me. Okay, well, first of all, I'm not going to scam you, you silly human. But what you can do if you're feeling a little bit unsure is go onto the Magic Without Bullshit website, which is magicwithoutbullshit.com. Scroll, and near the bottom, you can see my screen caps of a lot of testimonials from real live students in the course. People's names are whited out in order to protect their identities. But honestly, just like read through those testimonials. There's like so many, it's honestly absurd. But I have all these testimonials, which I'm scrolling through right now, and people have printed out the worksheets because the course also includes a ton of worksheets that you can print out into like a workbook. It's going to be likely more than 100 pages because it is jam-packed with stuff. I used to be a university professor, so I don't fuck around with this stuff. I'm like very serious about teaching. And so if you're like, I don't know, go through all the fucking testimonials. There's literally a million of them. So let me see. Maybe I should read one for you guys. Let me just scroll through. Let me just see. What can I read for you guys? Okay, here's a testimonial. Magic Without Bullshit has been the spiritual help I really needed on my journey to recovering from years of trauma around being a witch. Thanks to Sabrina's open, insightful, and empowering way of teaching, I feel more grounded than ever in my practice. And I am beyond grateful for the community Sabrina has cultivated with this space, providing a family I never knew I needed, calls I'm always excited to show up to, and exploring conversations I haven't been able to engage in elsewhere. I started this program hoping to gain more clarity in my practices and who I am as a witch, and I feel like I've gained so much more. What's most amazing is that I get to share this experience staring at the gorgeous mountains from the deck of my new home, tucked 8,000 feet above sea level in the trees. I don't think I'd be living this reality yet had it not been for my deeper connection with magic, my spirit guides, and the confidence I've gained through all that Sabrina's opened me up to. Thank you. I actually love this testimonial so much, and this is actually so funny, but I remember who sent this testimonial, and I oh my God, my cats are like battling. You guys are chill. So I absolutely adore the person who sent this testimonial. They are fucking awesome. And I remember back after they first signed up, I'm pretty sure they paid in full. I don't really remember. And I remember they kind of got scared. They got scared of investing in themselves. They got scared of the price tag. They got scared of trusting themselves to make a decision. And they asked for a refund before the course even started. And I basically was like, hey, I don't accept refunds for my program, but I would really challenge you to honor this commitment you've made to yourself and give it a try. And so I'm so glad that they did. They stuck around. They did the fucking work. And I'm so grateful for this testimonial. And their growth in the program was fucking amazing. And as you read, or I guess I read out loud to you guys in the testimonial, there was so much around growth, around switching the living circumstances, around healing different types of trauma. And sometimes when we are resisting making an investment in ourselves, it can be because we're afraid. It can be because we're afraid of spending money. We're afraid of investing in ourselves. Especially a lot of women we don't invest in ourselves often. It was something I had to learn how to do. And it's something that I've taught a lot of clients to do, whether that's tarot clients, coaching clients for feminine energy, or even as I am talking to people about Magic Without Bullshit. Like, think about it, right? Like, why would you not invest in your greatest asset, which is yourself? Why would you cheap out on your growth and your evolution and your happiness and your learning? Like, we are our biggest asset. And I think it can be so powerful to just move past that fear and invest in ourselves. And you know what? I've actually also done the same fucking thing. You know, this is a personal story, but I remember back when I invested in my first online course. It was a fuck ton of money. It was so much money that my bank like flagged it as like potentially a scam or something, or fraud. I think it was like $5,000 or something. It was absurd for me at the time, as I was living below the poverty line. I was like in my early 20s. And yeah, I think I was living off like $20,000 a year or something. And I think the course was like 5,000. I can't remember. And I remember my bank rejected it. So I had to call my bank to tell them, no, I didn't intend to purchase this. I swear, from this random coach somewhere in Europe. And I paid it. And you know, I started taking the course. The material was really good. And then I got scared. And I caused a fuss and I created drama. I was like the worst. And I asked for a partial refund because it was like a 6-month coaching thing. And it was 3 months in and I was miserable. And I was really resisting the teachings. So I asked for a refund and they were like, no, basically. And I was like, okay, fine. So honestly, I didn't go to those last calls. Should I have? Yes, I should have. That was my own like stupidness, to be honest. But if I'm going to be a bit more nuanced, what I really think it was fear. I was afraid of being incompetent in public, by which I mean like in the course community. I was afraid of challenging my ways of thinking. I was afraid of making changes to my behavior. I was afraid of admitting that me and the way that I was doing things was part of the problem. And so I took it out on the teacher, you know, and that was my own like shadow that was acting out, right? And so I've had people do this to me on occasion since, and so it's, I guess, my karma. That's what I get. Very, very rare occurrence. But all that to say, like, fast forward years later, like, I'm still in this person's courses, like, I don't know, like a long time later, like, oh my God, 6 or 7, I don't know, 8 years later, whatever, something like that. And my perspective has totally changed. And I'm like, wow, this course totally changed my life. When I was able to not be defensive and when I was able to put my ego on the ground and look at myself in an emotionally sober way and realize like, wow, I am fucking up here. My behavior needs to shift. I can't just be blaming this on other people. You know, I've got to take some responsibility for my choices and their results. And it totally changed my life. And I am who I am today in large part because I took all these courses from this person. I'm not going to name who it is because it doesn't really matter. I think we all have, they weren't magic courses. They were on something else entirely, not on spirituality at all, but on something else. And so I think we all are going to have these growth opportunities. And I think sometimes we're going to resist it, just like this person did that I read the testimonial. They're so glad they actually went through with it. And just like I did, right? And so I think that if we do want to make change, like if we're going to be honest with ourselves, like we have to actually make a decision. We have to invest in ourselves. We're going to have to hire a mentor. We're going to have to take a course. We're going to have to admit that the way that we're doing things is not fucking working, right? The pain of stagnation needs to be greater than the pain of growth. And I've been through it, and that's why I'm asking you to like come with me through this door. And so if you are sick of your stagnation, if you are ready to embrace your own growth, I invite you to join me in Magic Without Bullshit. It is a 24 plus hour online course with 10 modules, 10 really long worksheets that you'll be able to print out into a cute little booklet if you want to. And then an optional group coaching component, which will be 6 months from July to December. And it's going to be fucking sweet. the group coaching component will have group live Zoom calls where I get to teach you the things and you can ask me whatever the fuck you want. And also a Facebook community and also Telegram group chat. So if you would like to join me, if you'd like to join the group, maybe you're a legacy student who's been in the course before, but you want to top up and hang out with us in the group calls, I would love that. I would love to meet you. I would love to guide you. I would love to help you become the version of yourself that I know that you can be, and I know that you can be. Stagnation is not the vibe. Growth is the vibe. When we grow, when we skill up, we cultivate our inner peace. We expand our skill set to deal with life and challenges, and magic and witchcraft is a big part of that for me. And I know it can be for you too, if you want it to be. Okay, lovelies. So I hope you'll join me, magicwithoutbullshit.com. magicwithoutbullshit.com. Check it out. And of course, my website, sabrinamscott.com. If you want to send me an email, ceo@sabrinamscott.com. If you want to say hello on Instagram, it's just Sabrina M. Scott. And I will catch you on the flip side. I'll hopefully see you in my course. If you've got any questions about it whatsoever, send me an email, reach out to me on Instagram, say hi in some which way. Okay, friends. Thanks so much for listening. Take care.